Latter-day Saints, Latter-day Saints, Latter-day Saints, Latter-day Saints are very clever. Just got better and better as I watched it. And it was so good. Like, it was just so good. Like, I loved every second of it. Pipe. And then you put a little generator on the end of the pipe, a little water wheel, kind of. And it spins and would give us power. And so probably we use solar power in the summer, and then funny, you know what happened millions of years ago, light years ago, but you don't know how the pyramids were made. Yeah, we know how the pyramids were made. They actually have pictures where the ancient Egyptians are showing you how they made the pyramids. They're just that people were very clever. We mess it up. So, and this is like back to the book club, the termination shot. And then it's going to take about 20 years to reach its destination, 2050. So my guess is that we will be okay. Mass of the black hole. So when you, and we don't know what goes on inside the event horizon of a black hole, but you can assume it's just more spaghettification. Or if it was like a really massive black hole, say like the supermassive black hole at the heart of the Milky Way, or maybe like one of the really big ones, like the ones that are billions of times the math, did the math on and figured out what it would take to be able to have a planet. The usable forms of energy, civilizations. And wouldn't it be cool, right? If you had a planetary system which consists of 10,000 Earth-like planets orbiting. Sierra Vortek, what is Fraser's opinion of Andor? I think it's the best Star Wars thing that's ever been made. Like, better than Star Wars? No. But just because it was so new and so different. But I would go like Star Wars, I'll go Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars, Andor, and then everything else. And it was so good. Like, it was just so good. Like, I loved every second of it. Just got better and better as I watched it. Jim Smith, where do iron meteorites get formed? All of the asteroids that we see are piles of rubble. Thank you. Good question. So when we think about meteorites, right? When we think about the solar system, like it is the sun with 99% of the mass of the solar system, and it's mostly hydrogen and helium, but it's also polluted with heavy metals. There's several times the Earth's worth of rock and metal inside the sun. So there is metal mixed in with the solar system. But the question is, like, how do you get meteorites that are made out of metal compared to meteorites that are made out of rock sunk down into the planet and collected into the center of the planet? Like, there's tons of gold and platinum on Earth. It's just down the core of the planet. And this process happened on Mars, it happened on Europa, it happened on Venus, it happened wherever you have a planet hydrostatic equilibrium that is molten from its formation at the beginning of the solar system, and then over time, all this stuff concentrates inside. And so then again, like, how could we have an asteroid made of metal? And so that tells you that something had to destroy a planet, that there were planetoids in the past, and it wouldn't have to necessarily be as big as the Earth or Mars or whatever. They could be smaller than that would have gotten these distinct layers inside, and then they would have gotten smashed by some other asteroid and torn apart. And now what were metal surrounded by rock has now just been blasted out into space. Thought it's about 15% of the meteorites are, yeah, I mean, like, if you could go to one of those rubble pile asteroids like Bennu or asteroid Ryugu. Yeah, if you go to one of those rubble pile asteroids, ever teach inside Mars, they found a chemical called perchlorate. How do they get there? Not only the exact chemistry how you get perchlorate, but it is a reaction of the ultraviolet light from the sun hitting the outer layer of the Martian regolith and creating this stuff called perchlorate. And grow their plants in the Martian regolith, all they have to do is wash this perchlorate off. And it might just be like just water will do the trick, or maybe you're going to need to do something to actually nullify the chlorine in it. But it is only in just the top few centimeters of the regolith on Mars, and it just comes from the interaction of the ultraviolet radiation over long periods of time. And it's one of the reasons why people think that and it shows you that if we really want to try and find life on Mars, we're going to have to dig deep. We're going to have to go down several meters, probably 10 meters, to really get a nice, clean sample, a place that is protected from space, to really figure out whether or not there's life currently on Mars and bring that home or examine it on Mars. Rob Hawk, a nuclear winter would cool us down for a while. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Talk about Flatter Day Saints. You, sir, are an excellent science communicator like Michelle Thaler, but I'm curious why the ocean surface is called sea level if water curves and doesn't find its true level. Well, I'm in very good company then. Michelle Thaler from NASA is a terrific science communicator. And I'm, based on your username, I'm sure you're asking a loaded question, but I'll bite. Planets like the Earth and Mars and, well, even stars, right? A star, all of these objects are in what's called hydrostatic equilibrium, which means that the gravity that is pulling inward on this object is strong enough to pull it into a sphere. And so if you went and you took the moon and you smashed it with some other object, it would turn into this spray of molten rock and debris. But then the mutual gravity of all of those particles would pull themselves back together, and eventually it would form a sphere again. And that's because the mutual gravity of all of the objects, the desire to pull towards the center of mass, is stronger than the tensile strength of the material itself. But if the object gets small enough, then, like, say, Phobos, right, or an asteroid, then the amount of mutual gravity that's pulling it together isn't strong enough to put it into that level of hydrostatic equilibrium. But water, it has no tensile strength, or maybe it does, but very little. Water wants to flow and wants to find this perfect equilibrium. And so if you had like a blob of water, it was only water out in space, it would form this sphere. Think about how you blow bubbles, right? You blow a bubble, it's going to pull itself into a sphere because of the surface tension and because it's trying to minimize the volume on the surface area of the bubble. If you have a blob of water out in space, it's going to form this perfect sphere. And then it's going to crust over and it's going to be like Europa. And so the Earth has the rock surrounding it, and then it has the water on top of it that is attempting to balance itself out as best it can across the surface of the Earth. Now, the moon, of course, is pulling with its gravity, and that can change the height of where the water is. But essentially, gravity wants to make everything a sphere. Black holes, neutron stars, white dwarfs, giant stars, small stars. If it can, it wants to sphere the universe. Well, Lazada, did you see the latest release of Melody Sheep? I have not. I mentioned this before. I don't really watch a lot of other YouTubers, or I don't watch a lot of space YouTubers. I'm friends with a lot of space YouTubers, but I don't watch their work very much because I don't want to be influenced. I don't want to accidentally borrow their ideas. So I like to get inspired by other people, but I really try to avoid people that are working in my field. But sometimes it's hard to resist. You know, you see a new PBS Space Time or Dr. Becky, and you just have to, you know, the title is so good, and you just have to watch it. Sorry, just looking at the question. Nemyanja Ignatovic, your Latter-day Saints. And it was so good. Like, it was just so good. Like, I loved every second of it.